Hi, and welcome to Books with Ken. I'm your host for today, Tiffany Magner. Today on the show, we have Roy Austin, the author of The Alligator Business Solution, Small Business Competitive Advantage. I'd like to welcome you to the show today, Roy.
Thanks, Tiffany. It's so delightful to be here. Appreciate you having me.
Very glad to have you join us. So I have to ask, first off, what does the title mean, The Alligator Business Solution?
Well, the title actually came from a conversation with my granddaughter. She was asking me about how my book was coming and about alligators. I live in coastal Carolina, not far from Hilton Head, and we've got a lot of alligators down there. And there was a story when I first moved to the area about a man who was suing the community he lived in because he'd been attacked by an alligator in the backyard.
Oh.
Well, and he got away, by the way, by sticking his fingers in its eyes. So remember that if you're ever attacked by an alligator.
Yes, good to know.
Well, 3 months later, he withdrew his lawsuit. Seems his wife had been feeding the alligator for 2 years. That's why it was in his backyard. So she had taught the alligator where to look and what to look for, and it knew what to do with what it found.
Wow.
Small businesses are generally started by people who know how to do the work. But doing the work and running a business are two different skill sets. And so you have to manage all the different functions of your business, even the ones that you don't enjoy or don't feel comfortable with. Accounting is a prime one, but there's also marketing and management and recruiting of employees. And so what I wanted was a book that was essentially a user's manual for small businesses. But to manage all those business functions, all you need to know is what the alligator knows. Where to look, what to look for, and how to use the information. Because if you know those three things, you can tell when something doesn't look right, and you can start asking questions to find out what is the problem here.
Okay, that explains it very well. Thank you. Now, the subtitle, though, the Small Business Competitive Advantage. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, your competitive advantage really is not one specific thing. I think a lot of times we get led to believe by press and media that if you do this one thing, you'll have a competitive advantage. Well, there's a lot that goes into a competitive advantage. And one of the things it starts with is the foundation of your business. If you will picture building a house, the first thing that you would do in the construction process is lay the foundation. In our business concept, your foundation consists of your fundamental purpose. What problem are you solving for your customers? How do you make the world a better place? What gets you excited to get up in the morning?
Right.
Secondly is, what are your fundamental values? What are the things that you would never compromise? For many people tell me they're moral and ethical, but there's also other things that you would never compromise for your business. You know, for instance, one of the fundamental values of custom security is an extreme attention to customer service, 24/7. You will always get a person no matter what. And Bob All is meticulous about that. It's something he would not compromise.
Right.
Your fundamental operating principles are the way you do business. It's how you operate. So a couple of examples, one big and one small. Southwest Airlines, one of their operating principles was we only fly 737s. Now, you say, well, how is Southwest so much less expensive than everybody else? Well, they have every pilot can fly every plane. Every mechanic can work on every plane. They only need one parts inventory. And so by having that as one of their operating principles, they can operate more efficiently and less costly.
I wondered that myself.
So on a small business scale, Island Tire, for instance, on Hilton Head, which does more than just sell tires. They do all kinds of mechanical work on cars. And Barry Edwards, the owner, says, train, train, train. He is just a fanatic about making sure that his employees are up to date on the latest information. So now we got our foundation laid. So the next thing we want to do is build the walls of our house. And those are the functional areas of your business. Small businesses have the same business function that General Electric has. And it's just that you probably have to do most of them yourself. But you still have to do accounting, legal, purchasing, logistics, administration, HR. Those are the functional areas of your house. But now if you think about the walls of that house going up, what do those walls have to be relative to the foundation? They have to be in alignment. They have to be perpendicular, or else you're going to run into structural problems, or at the worst or at the least, you're going to have doors and windows and cabinets that don't fit right. Well, their business is the same way. All those business functions have to be aligned with your fundamental values, your fundamental purpose, and your fundamental operating principles. Because if they're not, then you're going to have cracks and sags and things that don't connect. Everybody needs to be on the same page.
Okay.
The next aspect is you want to put a roof over your house, right? Protect it from the rain. So the roof represents, in our business house, risk management. Now, there are a lot of risks that you can insure against, but there's a lot of risks that you can't. There's seasonal variations, there's inflation, there's all kinds of things that you want to protect your business from. And finally, if you were building a house just to sell it, what would be the last thing that you would add? You would probably add the landscaping last, wouldn't you?
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Sure.
Okay. That's kind of the marketing. That's the curb appeal for your business.
Okay.
But unfortunately, a lot of businesses simply open their doors and they do the marketing before they have defined who they are, what they believe in, and how they operate. And when that happens, your marketing message can be disingenuous to your customers. If you say, like Reclamation by Design, a home builder says, we never cut corners. We only use the finest quality lumber, roofing material, cabinetry, whatever. And in fact, they're so fanatical about it that they sign every house, just like an artist. So, but if you tell your customers this is who we are, and one of our fundamental values is never cutting corners, using the best material, and then people start buying your house and they find out that's not true. Well, your marketing can actually probably do you more harm, because your reputation will get around, especially in this era of social media.
That was a great answer. So tell me a little bit more about who is the book for. I know it's for small business, but is there anything specific within that you are appealing to?
Well, I mean, essentially, it's a user's manual for small businesses. But the concepts and the ideas in it are applicable to organizations of all size and types, whether it's a church or a nonprofit or a business or even an individual. Having a foundation for your life is just as important as having a foundation for your business.
Oh, absolutely.
And so it's really directed initially at small businesses, but just about anybody can benefit from it.
Yeah, it sounds like this would be a great manual for somebody to have even prior to opening their business, to really give them the tools that they need to do it right from the start. Right,
and that's you hit on one of the problems, because all too often small businesses simply open their doors. Well, I've got a lawnmower, a leaf blower, and a pickup truck. I'm in the landscaping business. And that's probably fine if you're just a one or maybe two-person operation. But if you're going to grow that to any significance, you have to have more substance to it. And so defining that foundation for your business and addressing all the functions and the risk management and the marketing kind of thing. And here again, you don't have to be an expert in all those things. You just need to know where to look, what to look for, and how to use the information. And you also have to be what I call a DWIT. A DWIT is somebody that does whatever it takes. Now, I don't mean that to the exclusion of your family and your friend and your faith. But you have to have a single-mindedness of focus to stick with it and persevere through some of the tough times and do the planning up front to get your business off the ground. If you just simply open your doors, your odds of being successful aren't good, and the vast majority of small businesses fail in the first year. So you want to improve your odds to success so you're not a statistic.
Absolutely, I would agree with that. So tell me then, what would be, for somebody reading this, if you had to choose just say two of the biggest takeaways that you want people to remember or take out of reading this book, what would those be?
I would think number one is you don't have to be an expert to manage all the functions of your business, but you do have to manage them.
Yes.
You can't just turn it over to somebody else, like one client of mine that had his CPA, and I said, "Who reconciles your bank statement?" And he said, "Well, my CPA does." And I contacted the CPA, and he said, "Oh, I've been busy. I haven't done that in 3 years." Well, yes, that's the fault of the CPA who was getting paid, but it was also the fault of the business owner for not following up and managing that side. So you have to manage all the different functions. But again, to do that, you don't have to be an expert, but you do have to know enough. So you have to grow your knowledge on areas that maybe you're not comfortable with. If you've never had a business before, finding the right employees is a critical function. And then as you grow, keeping those star employees is extremely important. So we've tried to cover some of these key concepts. And also, there's a lot of people that will tell you, "I will take care of your marketing." Well, what they're really saying is, "I'll take care of your print media, or your email, or your website, or your social media, or your billboards, or your radio." But they specialize in a particular media. But that may not be the best for your business, given who your target customers are. So how do you figure that out? So we've tried to put together some tools that business owners can use, because all too often, if you go to an advertising agent, all too often they not only charge you a fee, they get a commission from where they place the ads with.
Right.
And so they can't really give you an objective opinion. But you as a small business owner, you know who your customers are. You know what motivates them to buy. And so are you focusing on what I call the bare essentials? There's 4 different types of advertising. One, is it branding? Are you just trying to get your name known and recognized? A is for acquisition of customers, or is the purpose of your ad campaign to get new customers? Or is it retention of customers? Or is it simply to educate your customers on the ones you already have on the different services that you have? Different media may be more effective for each one of those bare essentials. There's a lot of tools in the books to help you figure out how to get this to work. And here again, finally, you kind of have to be a bit of a DeWitt and do whatever it takes to make it work.
That's a great term. I'm going to have to start using that. I love that.
Well, you know, one of the Army slogans years ago was, "Be all that you can be." Well, you have to be the best you that you can be, which means you have a continual learning process. It lasts all your life, and it never stops. And it's not a question of, are you better at accounting or marketing or management or what than somebody else. The question is, how can you be better than you were before? How are you growing constantly towards that? And to me, reading is a really key ingredient to that, because you want to constantly be feeding yourself new ideas, new ways of doing things.
Right, absolutely. Well, it sounds like any small business owner thinking about it or already in it is going to benefit greatly. Sounds like a lot of tools in the book and a lot of how-to, chock full of information. So thank you so much for coming on the show today and talking about your book. Look for this in bookstores soon. It is The Alligator Business Solution, Small Business Competitive Advantage. So thank you so much, Roy, for joining us today on the show. And that's all for today.
Thank you for having me, Tiffany.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure.